What's going on YouTube is PJ Chess back from the review. So today we have tips for under 1,000. That's what you clicked on for. Let's get straight into the content, straight into the video. So there are 4 things I picked that I want to show you guys. I want to do 5, but honestly I would have been lying. I can only think of 4 that really stood out to me. And the first one was the defender tactic. Now this is something I see when I play people in my streams. I do viewer tournaments sometimes, and I oftentimes am able to get this type of tactic on them where they just don't see it because I remove the defender of their pieces. So I do a few puzzles here, and I'm going to just emphasize how important it is to be able to see stuff like this. So the first thing here we have is knight captures to f6. Now, the reason this is an removing the defender tactic and the way that it works, the knight is defending here on h7. The queen and the knight are aiming in there. This is something you need to understand, and I think it's amazingly useful to understand the higher up you get. Let's do a couple of these, and then we'll get to the next 3 things as well. The rook comes in here. What you see is the queen is defending 2 pieces, right? The queen on d2 is guarding the rook on b4 and guarding the knight here on g5. Now, you may be thinking, how do you make this work in your favor? This is where the whole tactic to remove the defender comes in, and where the term comes in. It's overworked. If you capture here on b4, right, the queen's going to take, and now the knight's here for free on g5, removing the defender. Very important thing to spot. Let's do another one here. You see that they have a knight in the center of the board on d5. Your queen's under attack, and this is where it may get confusing, like, okay, they have this initiative. What you have to think about is order of operations in something like this. What you can do is knight captures f3, right? That's a check, and it removes the defender of the d5 knight, and now you have 2 pieces that can come in and take it. Let's see if I'm correct. I hope I am, or else I shouldn't be making this video. But yeah, you take that there, and now the rook could take in theory, but again, your queen's hanging. This is where this is a little more complex than a normal one, but you have to take with the queen instead and go into this winning endgame. So that's just a couple of them, and we can do a few more, but I just want to pause here to emphasize you have to be able to see tactics like that. Now these are going to be obviously harder in an actual game. This puzzle, you know, it's from the defender, you kind of have the idea, well, it's somewhere here. But you always be looking at pieces that are overworked and defending too many things at once. I think that's so important. If I could tell myself that when I was 1,000, I think I would love myself. Let's do one more here before we go to this next data point. They go queen here to e2. What is defending what here? So the knight's defending the bishop here on g5, right? If you get rid of the knight, this queen could swoop in and take it. But how could you do that? This one is a little bit easier, I'd say. Bishop captures f3. It attacks their queen, and then you can take there on g5 at the end there. So let's see that's what happens here, and then queen captures. So I think remove the defender is extremely important. On chess.com, if you have like a premium or a diamond, you can select what type of puzzle you do and custom. That's how I do this here. Extremely, extremely, extremely helpful. So let's go to this next thing, which I think is maybe more important, is maintaining advantages. So actually, it's this one. This is a game I played actually yesterday on stream, and I had some people talking to me in the comments about how they would not have kept the advantage that I get in this game. And that would be a great thing for me to talk about how I was able to keep this advantage and what I'm thinking about when I'm doing it. So this is the second thing, maintaining advantage you create. So they make a blunder here of knight to e5, and I go bishop b4. The move that's going to win their queen. As you see the queen, it's trapped. It can't go back there, or nowhere it can go legally. That's why it's +3. They capture, I capture their queen, knight back here. This is the first important part, I think, of maintaining advantages, is you need to make sure you actually have the advantage. Right now they have, if you do a count, they have 6 points for the 9 points I took. They've taken 2 pieces, right? If I go queen, this is kind of hard to set up, but if I go queen c7, and then they took the knight, and then I went queen back, and I let them get their knight back here to a3 or to c3, this is not an advantage. A queen looks good, it does look good, but giving them 2 pieces and a rook for it is really not enough. Like, if you give up all of that, that's why you need to make sure you keep your queen around and take this. This actually leads to my next point, which we'll get to in a second, which is understanding piece value. So it's a similar thing, but you want to make sure you actually get the advantage and you can't give up too much just because, oh, it's a queen, let's get the queen. It's always something you have to think about and calculating. So I do get the advantage, though, and they get a bishop and a rook, which is not enough for the queen, right? And this game is not enough material. So they slip their rook over here, knight into c6, and this is honestly the main point that I want to, another main point I want to get to is after this move. Knight c6, if I was going to get that tactic, you're attacking the rook here. If they were to take, you take here. You want to grow the advantage as well, not just maintain it. Now, they could have went bishop here to win this pawn as the queen's under attack. Or I guess you could go queen down. But anyways, they don't do that. They slide over and have knight to e7. An important move. It's a very good move, and it's going to set up a nice position. They slide their king over, and this is where I really wanted to show, is because you can't do, so I castle, right? Which is the best move. You may be thinking if you take this pawn here on b7 is hanging, right? If you capture with the rook, and then you decide to take this. This is actually a losing tactic, right? Because they have a way to win this rook here. And if you did it the other way, let's say this rook took, it's still a losing tactic if you take here, because you still have the idea of rook here to b1. And the queen can't go back to e. Look like you go qe4 to guard the square. They also still have this, but the queen, this just not going to work. But the point I want to show with this is, while I have this advantage, you still have to play chess the same way you play before you get an advantage. You can't take it for granted and just, oh, I can just not play chess, I don't have to calculate anymore, because you get up. Now, the rest of this game, it's a very long game. We'll kind of speed through the rest of it. But the whole time you see, I'm keeping the pressure. Like, I'm not just sitting back. You have to still go get, you have to go get the game. Go get more material. Like, I'm going to get that pawn there at a7 in this game. I went down to 7th rank. Like, I'm playing aggressive, even though I already played aggressive to get the queen advantage. Well, actually, they played overly aggressive. But you get the point. I got the advantage, and I'm trying to play aggressive to maintain it. Like, I'm not sitting back waiting for them to hit me. I'm going to do that first. They slide the rook over. Queen drop back. Queen over. I'm trying to trade down, too. That's one thing about converting. You want to get to an endgame. The more pieces on the board, the easier for the team or the person that's down material to try and maintain it. Make a comeback, because mistakes happen. Like, even for me, like, I used to have like 21, I think I'm 21-50 now, roughly. I'm not going to win every game. Like, I'm not a grandmaster. Even they don't win every game, but, you know, I'm not somewhere where it's, I'm going to win with an advantage. You have to still play the game of chess. They slide in, you want to exchange. The more pieces, the easier, as mentioned. They have the rooks. There's still some chance. I'm going to trade off one pair, and now it should be easier even than when it was being up the queen. They move their king. I move my queen in, and it's another cool tactic in this part of the game I want to show, is where you want to make sure you're always keeping your mind looking to win more material than just material you're already up. Because if their knight takes here, I set up this trap. If they took here on a4, you have q here. Oh, his queen here to b7 instead. But they're just ideas if you want to keep attacking. Oh yeah, there's check, which is why you can't win the knight. So I was wrong on that tactic. But the idea, you could win something back here, potentially. I'm messing up a little bit. But the idea is, you want to keep the aggression continuing. You see, I go pawn here to a5. If they take here, I'm just setting up little traps, even though I already set the main trap to get up the queen. You have to still convert it, especially I'm playing a 21-60. They're not just going to give up. Move their knight back here. The queen slides over, pawn forward, down, and you want to make sure you know how to convert the queen here. This is basically over. If they take, you take. I think that's what happens in the game, actually. Or they take it this way, and you take here on a8. And you want to make sure you're always converting, always think of the worst case scenario and preparing for it. I see my king here. You'll see in a couple moves. Now, this may not be what a top player does, but I'm telling you what I do. And what I advise you to do is always take the safer route. So you'll see eventually, I just move my king out the way, right? Now, is there a way they can fork me right here? Not really. But if my king's on g1, the knight's truly way too far to ever touch my king. So I'm not going to be too worried about that. So I got it out the way, and you see I go get the checkmate. But it took a while. Like, this is 70 moves. And I won the queen, I think I moved like 21 or something, right? Like, something really early, even earlier than that. Like, I win their queen here on move 16. And it took me 50 moves. And honestly, as you saw, I had a lot of best moves there. Like, it's not like I play with my foot or anything. They just play really well. And I show the precision you need to maintain an advantage. So I think that's really important for under 1000 and something that I wish I knew. Because I didn't always do that. It took some time. It took some time in the fire. I lost a lot of games that I was up on. And that's something. Just make sure you maintain precision and understand how to, you know, keep the advantage and keep pressing. You don't have to just sit back when you're up and just go and just expect something to happen, right? You still need to make it happen. All right, for the third thing, understanding piece value. This one's a little bit shorter because I kind of touched on it in this last one, but someone asked me this on stream, and it was an eye-opening moment, and I'm so glad they asked me that because I want to talk about it a little bit. So knight here, in this game here, there's an idea of knight here to d7 that I don't actually go for. Now, this is the best move, but I'll explain why I don't go for it, and I'll explain what people were asking me about in the chat, like why I didn't do this. So, if you were to go knight here to d7, again, the best move, but we're not going to talk about the best continuation, which is taking the bishop. That is what the computer recommends. I've gone over this already. They take this bishop. I was asked a couple times, why don't you take the rook? Now, it looks good if you were to think about it as a knight for a rook. That's an amazing exchange. But every move in chess matters. So they take if I go here, right, they take the bishop. So pause here. I do have this fork on the bishop on b6 and the rook on f8. But if you just, you know, take a snapshot in time, they do have an extra piece on the board. So it does matter when deciding if you want to take the rook or the bishop. You have to take the bishop, which the computer's saying, but you want to understand the piece value, because taking here it doesn't work. 2 pieces, a bishop and a knight, are better than a rook, so you don't want to do that and give them that advantage. And I think understanding that is just a really useful thing, really helpful thing. I recommend learning what exchanges are fine. As I mentioned in the previous section, I touch on the third topic, which is having 2 pieces, a bishop and a knight, or 2 bishops and a rook for a queen is enough. You need to understand what is enough and what's not enough. Like 2 rooks for a queen, generally okay. 2 rooks and a piece is winning for a queen, right? And so is the rook in 2 pieces. So you need to always understand the piece value. Although it's 5, 3 for 5, this is another 3, and they just have an extra fighter on the board. Obviously, if you got one of these off, and it's 2 rooks versus a bishop and rook, that is winning. So just understanding the importance of what pieces matter in what context, because obviously a knight for a rook by itself, not bad. Also understanding situation, because the bishop's gone, you can't do that. And they were asking even beyond the fact that the bishop's gone, like why is this just not good taking here? It's just not what you want to do, giving them these extra pieces. And for the last thing here, honestly, I think the most important thing between them, I've been able to show you these 2 things because I'm doing what? I'm reviewing my games, and that's my third thing, review games. Maybe it seems like something I shouldn't mention or something like, oh, this is obvious, but I really want to emphasize that, and I put it on the list and kept it because I thought it was a real piece of advice. There's other things like, well, this is not really advice, telling people to do tactics. This I thought was a real piece of advice, so I'll explain to you why I think it's important. When I started playing chess, I had a coach, and she would go over the games with us after every time, her or someone else. When we lost, we're kids, we're not prodigies or anything, so you were 800s to 1,000, maybe even lower at some point. And going through and really understanding the mistakes and how you can fix them in the future, I think is very important. And going over losses and wins, they're both important almost equally. Like losses may be a little more important, but going over wins, like rarely do you see 100% accuracy. Like I won these 2 games I showed you, and I have a 92.1% and a 88.9. So I played really good, but obviously that's some room for improvement. So going over what you could do better for next time, especially openings, so you see where you got caught up on in that part. Middle game tactics, what you need to work on to get those specific puzzles. Remove the defender. Is it a mate in 3 you miss? Is it something like you can see and identify as a specific weakness? I think it's extremely important. Now chess.com has premium and stuff to go over those games. I know Lead Chess, if you can download your chess.com game and you can put it on Lead Chess if you want to review it. I think I do that. I think it's extremely useful to go over each game and not just go to the next one and not really care what went wrong. I just feel like I cannot emphasize that enough. I would have started with that. And maybe it sounds like a not good piece of advice, like that, but truly, I think that's the most helpful thing outside of just playing games and tactics. Like playing games, number 1 in my opinion. Going over those play games is 2, and then tactics are 3. I think those 3 things really help you improve a lot. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this was helpful. 4 tips to help you improve. I know 5 sounds better, but I think that 5th one, I didn't want to give you guys some fake content. Not fake, but content I didn't believe. I believe these 4 are extremely important for under 1,000 players. And yeah, that's what I think. If you enjoyed, please subscribe. I did not ask at the beginning to get you guys straight to the vid. So do me a favor and hit that sub. We're almost at 1,000. And I hope you all have a great day, and I hope you all get past 1,000.